Wow, that movie was certainly super, man.
Wrap it up.
Good luck with that.
Alright, I just got back from watching Superman in IMAX, and I'm extremely happy because I just witnessed peak on the biggest screen possible, and James Gunn is here to save DC, and that's exactly what he did with the first movie in this new universe that him and Peter Safran are creating together. And I have to be honest here, I wasn't even 100% sold on the trailers for this movie. Like, I enjoyed the teaser. I thought the official trailer was pretty good. I mean, pretty great. And then the final trailer, I was like, okay, I'm like 75 to 80% sold on this movie, but I'm a little bit worried still. But my God, I had the biggest grin, the widest grin on my face during this whole movie. Right from the beginning of the movie, I was like, I'm going to witness a masterclass of filmmaking from James Gunn. I never should have doubted this man. And I honestly don't think I can trust anyone who doesn't at least enjoy this movie. You don't have to love it as much as I did, but you have to enjoy it, or I'm going to be like, do you have a brain? Do you have a soul? Do you have a heart? This movie is filled with hope and heart and just so many great things. I freaking loved it, man. Now back to James Gunn, who directed and wrote Superman as a starting point to the new DC universe. And if you didn't know, that's because the old DC universe was a bunch of crap, man. It maybe had like one good movie out of 5 movies, and it kind of just crashed and burned at the end of the day. And we of course know that James Gunn had his time at Marvel directing the Guardians trilogy, which is probably my favorite trilogy at Marvel. And he also did some work in DC before taking it over with the Suicide Squad, which basically exists in the old DC universe. I love the Suicide Squad. Came out in COVID day and date on Max, but I ended up seeing that in theaters a couple times, watching it on Max a couple times. It is a fantastic movie. And as I said before, I've always loved James Gunn and his work ever since seeing the first Guardians movie because it felt fresh. It was endlessly fun to watch. I've watched all the Guardians movies a couple times each. I feel like they're all just simply amazing to me. And I think he's done it again with this movie. And he's dealing with, probably the biggest superhero of all time, but he still adapted it flawlessly. In my opinion, I think he gave us the best Superman movie that's ever been created, and that's coming from someone who has never really been a big fan of Superman. And now after watching this, I'm hooked. I just bought All Star Superman after watching the movie. That's kind of like the comic book that James Gunn heavily based this movie off of. This movie was also supposed to be called Superman Legacy, but he just changed the title to Superman, which I kind of like. And, James Gunn, he's talked about, being a big fan of DC and Superman for a long time. I think he nailed this one. I cannot wait to see what he does next with this universe. I feel like he's put it at such a great starting point. So hopefully we just keep going up from here. And it makes sense that James Gunn is a big fan of comic books because I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but this movie literally felt like a comic book coming to life because it's a very comic booky type movie, and some might not like that. They'll be like, oh, it's too much, it's too vivid and all that, it's too much action, what is happening with all these characters? But man, I can't lie. It worked on me from the beginning of the movie right to the end. You have a lot going on. You have a lot of characters going on that just reminds me of a comic book. Like so many different things happening, so many different characters talking to each other. And as we said at the start of this new universe, but superheroes have existed in this universe for a long time. So there's a lot of metahumans in this universe that we do get to see in this first movie. And also make sure you do see this in IMAX because of the expanded ratio. It's a must. Before I get to more of my positive thoughts, I have to get my one negative out of the way, and it's a pretty small negative on my first watch. It's basically the second act of the movie. It doesn't really flow as well as the first act or the third act of the movie. It's not a major complaint at all. It might go away on multiple rewatches, but it just felt a little bit jarring on that first viewing because, seeing a new plot with a lot happening like in this movie is always hard to take in on the first watch, but I'll see how it works out on those multiple rewatches. Now back to the highlights of this movie, and without spoiling anything, the opening of Superman is so freaking good. You've seen a lot of it in the trailer. It's kind of taken place the Fortress of Solitude with them crashing in the snow, and there's kind of text on the screen. I explained that this, is a new universe, but superheroes have existed in this universe for a long time. But I'm so happy that we're not seeing the origin of this character again. I feel like, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, we've seen the origin so many different times. I don't need to see it anymore. I feel like I've loved that, this movie, we don't have to see the origin story. Fantastic Four, they're already developed superheroes in that universe. I'm tired of reliving the origins of all these superheroes, so thank God we're finally done with that. Now let's talk about our cast. The main man himself, David Corn Sweat as Superman or Clark Kent. He's literally Superman in this movie. He fit the role so well here. And if you didn't know, he's actually been in a couple other stuff. I first saw him in Pearl. He's great in that. He literally looks like Clark Kent in the Pearl movie. He has some great scenes in there. But this movie, he portrays him so well. He portrays Hope so well. He's angry at times. He's nice at times. He's saving so many different people. In the one scene, he saves a freaking squirrel from getting crushed. That's how nice of a man that David Corn so as Superman is. And I've seen him doing interviews and stuff. He literally is such a nice guy. Looks like a nice guy. I feel like he's going to be a great Superman for time to come in DC. I hope that he can play this character for at least 20 years. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it'd be great to see, the Justice League, all that, him meet Batman, whoever that's going to be. They're going to have some great chemistry. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, great. She had great chemistry with David Cornsweet. I was a little bit worried about her. I was a little bit on the fence because I wanted Emma Mackey, but I am 100% now in as Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Nicholas Hoult, though, might have stole the movie for me. He was terrific as Lex Luthor, and this is coming from someone who actually enjoyed Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman. I thought he was pretty good, but this Lex Luthor is truly like, the animated series or one of the comic books. He is a menace to Superman. He hates him with all of his guts. He does some amazing things in this movie. Nicholas Hoult has always been one of my favorite actors, working in Nosferatu last year, The Order, Juror Number 2. He's great. He shaved his head for this movie. I'm hoping he comes back. Who knows what's going to happen? No spoilers what happens with his character. He has a great time in this movie. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go over every other cast member in this movie, but some characters that I absolutely loved here were the engineer, Jimmy Olsen, of course, Green Lantern, basically Guy Gardner. Mr. Terrific was a huge surprise. I didn't know who Mr. Terrific or the engineer were, but I felt like their characters really did pop off the screen for me. The costumes of those characters also were great. The engineer's costume is cool. What the engineer can do is so cool. She's like nanites in her body, can make whatever she wants. Mr. Terrific is like one of the smartest guys in DC. I think that's what I've heard. So many cool characters in this movie, and they all have their own moments to shine, which I loved. The score, composed by David Fleming and John Murphy, is nothing short of incredible. It has that classic Superman feel to it, but it's really, kind of new. It's really electric sounding with some futuristic stuff put into it, like a guitar. I was like, this is awesome, man. I was really loving that score. I cannot wait for it to come out in a couple days so I can listen to that on its own. And the cinematography here is also quite astounding and beautiful to look at. Everything truly pops off the screen, like I said. Everything is vivid and bright. There's not many dark scenes in this movie outside of, some big action set pieces. And the action, you can see all of it. I loved everything that was happening. I was a little bit worried about the VFX, but never mind about that. It all looked great and mostly pretty seamless. Oh yeah, and obviously the action in this movie is spectacular to watch on the biggest screen possible. I mean, it truly feels like you're flying with Superman, and James Gunn came out and said, oh, he wants to make it like Top Gun Maverick, and that's kind of what it felt like, but I felt like every single punch that Superman was making was electric, was awesome. Crypto is awesome in this movie, has so many great action sequences, and, the laser blasts that go out of Superman's eyes are really cool. There's one amazing sequence that happens, but the action, the hand-to-hand fight sequences are amazing. There's one action sequence that happens in like a baseball stadium that's awesome, man. It's probably my favorite sequence of the whole movie. Now let's talk about a sequel, because there is really no tease for a sequel at the end of this movie, because James Gunn came clear and said that he doesn't want post-credit scenes to be like, hold over to the next movie, introducing too many new characters. So this movie has two post-credit scenes, but they're basically just gags. They're not really teasing anything new here. There is something to look forward to at the end of this movie, but that I won't get into that. It's a little bit of a spoiler there. But I do like that James Gunn is kind of slowing, he's going pretty slow at the start of this universe, not trying to build something super big like Marvel. They started with Iron Man. We're starting with Superman here. And I like what he's doing here. I really do like what he's doing. You know, we're getting Supergirl next year. I think we're getting maybe another movie next year too, Peacemaker season 2. This year, very excited. Hopefully, it doesn't take too long to get the sequel to Superman though, because after watching this, I'm like, just give me that next one, man. I want to see what happens in the next one. I want the next one to be like more emotional, a little bit more serious. I feel like that would be great. But I'm gonna say this: I think that James Gunn, even though he's running DC with Peter Safran, I think that he's the only one that should come back and make this sequel. I need it right away, as I said. Hopefully, you know, we don't get like one movie a year at DC. Hopefully, it's consistent. Maybe like two, maybe three, some other times. I don't know when we'll ever get a Justice League movie. Probably not for a long time, but I already know that that movie is going to be extremely cool. Overall, Superman filled me with so much joy and happiness, and I loved it so much. James Gunn has finally made DC a winner again, and that's coming from someone who wasn't entirely sold on the trailers for this. This film literally felt like a comic book that came to life on the big screen, and that made me super emotional because that's all I've really asked for with comic book movies these past years. David Cornsweet is the new Superman, and I couldn't have been happier. He's everything that that character represents and stands for. Nicholas Hoult is a true scene stealer and is the Lex Luthor that I needed and wanted in my life. He was a true menace to society. And as I said before, the film looks beautiful and that score had me smiling so hard in the theaters. I cannot wait to see where this new DC universe goes from here. Superman gets a strong 9 out of 10 on my first watch. If you also ended up watching Superman in theaters, leave your own thoughts down below in the comments. If you didn't see Superman, what the heck are you doing? Go support theaters. Go see this movie. And also, we got Fantastic Four coming out in 2 weeks. Well, this is going to be a great month for the comic book movie genre. And I honestly cannot wait to do a double feature of Superman and Fantastic Four. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be it for my review of Superman today. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.